Welcome back, nerds. Fino here with a guide for Io. She's a 4-star ruler and the welfare servant for Gurugura Shin Yamataikoku. If you think Himiko's niece is going to toe the party line, you'd be dead wrong. She jumped the buster ship in favor of bluer pastures. Let's see how that worked out. Io's first skill is Keto Destruction. I'm writing this before her official NA release, so names might vary. This is a 3-turn personal arts and anti-divine buff. It also applies a 1000 damage curse for 5 turns. There are a fair number of divine enemies in this game, and some of them are even moon cancers. Some are BB and Himiko specifically. Unfortunately, regular BB doesn't count due to kind of an insane oversight where she's a goddess servant, quote-unquote, but this in and of itself doesn't make her affected by anti-divine effects. Same deal for Summer Kiara. But setting that aside, there are a number of berserkers you can use this against, and plenty of candidates in other classes too, if you're willing to go class neutral. The curse is kind of impressive for an on-demand effect, and it adds a tiny bit of extra punch to your grind game, for reasons we'll see later. Next up is Dark Oracle. This is a 30% battery with 1 turn of arts absorption and arts crit damage. The main application I see for this is when you're fighting bosses with trash mobs. If you get your arts cards on turn 1, pop Oracle, use your NP, and then fish for a full charge. If not, use your support buffs first and hold this for the right moment. Being a battery, it obviously has applications in farming too. Combine it with your starting charge append and you can get 50% on turn 1. A single Castoria or Castoria/Zhufu combo can meet the rest, leaving you with charge to spare. Good stuff. The last of Io's regular skills is the ominously named Shrine Maiden of the End. This is a 3-turn party attack buff that dumps out 10 stars. It also grants a pretty solid crit buff to Wild Beast teammates. Now the Wild Beast category is a strange mishmash of servants that don't really get along with each other, much less Io. Most of them would prefer to work with their own major card type supports, or even a generic buffer like Waver. For instance, ones like Nekopara, Clifford, CatDog, the other Lubu. These are desperately charge-hungry servants, and Io can't really help them on that front. The only one who I'd even think about running with Io is Koyanskaya of Darkness, and that's just because of her debuff package for damage over time memes. Io isn't a wild beast, so you might think she gets screwed over on this deal, but she actually throws you a bone on this front. One of her passives is Kuna's Mantra. This provides a bunch of quick related effects, but the important part is that it treats Io as if she's a wild beast. Because of this, she can get her own crit buff. So think of Shrine Maiden of the End as a party attack buff with some crit related goodies for herself. Now art servants in general have to put in more legwork to get crits in the first place, but Io has some qualifications to be her main DPS in long, grinding fights. Firstly, her ruler class makes her naturally resilient, taking half damage from 6 out of the 7 normal classes. So if a hit gets through your defensive screen, she can take it like a champ. Secondly, she's an excellent recipient for Lady Avalon's buff suite. If you pack supports like her in Castoria with star income effects such as Fragment of 2030, you can run a more aggressive and somewhat lower budget Immortal team. Now you lose the extra overcharge you'd get from Morgan or Himiko, but for a lot of non-endgame bosses, you can get away with it. JP also added a crit damage append skill recently. That maxes out at 30%. Once you get your starting charge in order, it's a pretty decent place to invest your coins. The last is her noble Phantasm, Yoiyami Kageru Suki no Mitama. This is a 4-hit AoE arts attack with a preemptive 3-turn NP damage buff, a curse amplifier, and its overcharge is a 3-turn curse beginning at 1k. First and most obviously, this lets Io loop. No, not just loop. Ramp. And here's something funny. Even without multiple turns of ramping, Io does more damage than you'd expect for a freebie 4-star ruler. Not only does she one-up mysterious Ranmaru X by a small margin, but she also beats out a neutral Popus Johanna. That's a 5-star. One not really suited as a generalist apparently, but still. And while Johanna can claw back an edge with her suite of anti-buffs, Io is no slouch on that front either. As for the actual act of looping, a hit count of 4 is close to the minimum for traditional arts loopers. Odds are she'll need additional help. You want her starting charge append skill, obviously Castoria, Zhufu if you can't run 2 Castorias, and either a supplementary charger or the Summer Street Mystic Code, which is like the holy grail for arts farmers. Look forward to that next year. But what about that curse amplifier? It obviously pairs up with Io's first skill and benefits from repeated noble phantasms. In that pseudo-immortal team I talked about earlier, this may actually turn out to be a big part of your damage output. Long fight, lots of NPs flying around, and a lot of downtime where you're waiting for the other shoe to drop. Not a bad time for some curse memes. For an interesting novelty, Io has natural limbs, which grants her passive poison and burn immunity. Not a bad thing to have if, say, Carnuno sets himself on fire and comes after you. Just a thought. Io's ideal equipment is the usual business. Black Rail if you have it, Ocean Flyer if you don't, Event CEs when applicable. Standard operating procedure. Io is nothing too weird in the gameplay department, but she is nice to have. Her primary value is as a generalist farmer for developing accounts. Use her, get your own Jufu, borrow a friendly Castoria, and then back up the combo with Waver if you're short on charge. She might need that extra help to get the job done, but she's an excellent starting point before you pivot into more high-end attackers. Now here's the catch though. Something not so newbie friendly. Gura Shin Yamataikoku requires Lost Belt for completion. Why? Who the hell knows? At a glance, none of the event bonus servants are remotely related to India, so it's a real mystery. But if you want a piece of EO, you might want to step on the gas. I'd normally go into a history/mythology segment right about now, but there's barely anything on EO. She's a relative of Himiko's, she took power after her death from a relatively young age, and she mostly just continued Himiko's policies. That's all I've got. But if you want to learn more about Himiko and the times the two lived in, I've got a video that I'll link right now. Thanks for watching, lads. I'd like if you enjoyed this video, subscribe for more, and come watch my twitch.tv/Finotaisen where I stream every week, Wednesday and then Friday through Sunday at 3 PM Pacific time. This week I've got Persona 3 Reload on Wednesday, a Zelda CDI on Friday, something Yu-Gi-Oh related on Saturday, a nasty surprise, and FGO on Sunday. Probably CL rolls. So stop on by to hang out. See you there.